The Monkees, brought to you by Kellogg's. K-E-double-L-O double good. Kellogg's best to you.
What's up, Doc?
Huh? You're not a cop.
Okay, you win. You got me dead to rights. I'm not a cop, I'm a rabbit. But just because I got long ears doesn't mean there's nothing in between them. You know, kid, you don't look so good. What's this? A joint? So what's the big attraction? I mean, how did you get started anyway?
I started because I wanted to. What do you care?
This is the thing you should know about Ted Cruz. I probably like Ted Cruz more than most of my colleagues like Ted Cruz, and I hate Ted Cruz. And he made that, he's just a toxic coworker. He's the guy that microwaves fish in the lunchroom.
Good afternoon, Walmart customers. If I may have your attention, please. Will Mr. Clinton Hildepstein meet your party at the grocery entrance? Mr. Clinton Hildepstein, please go to grocery entrance to meet with your party. Thank you.
He said, I used to believe in God. I said, that's good. Were you a Christian or a Jew? He said, a Christian. I said, me too. Protestant or Catholic? He said, Protestant. I said, me too. What franchise? He says, Baptist. I said, me too. Northern Baptist or Southern Baptist? He says, Northern Baptist. I said, me too. Northern Conservative Baptist or Northern Liberal Baptist? He says, Northern Conservative Baptist. I said, me too. Northern Conservative Fundamentalist Baptist or Northern Conservative Reform Baptist? He says, Northern Conservative Fundamentalist Baptist. I said, me too. Northern Conservative Fundamentalist Baptist, Great Lakes region, or Northern Conservative Fundamentalist Baptist, Eastern region? He says, Northern Conservative Fundamentalist Baptist, Great Lakes region. I said, me too. Northern Conservative Fundamentalist Baptist, Great Lakes region, Council of 1879, or Northern Conservative Fundamentalist Baptist, Great Lakes region, Council of 1912. He says, Northern Conservative Fundamentalist Baptist, Great Lakes region, Council of 1912. I said, die, heretic! And I pushed him over.
I consider myself a well-read person, Mary, by which, of course, I mean I drink a lot of Snapple and read a lot of Snapple bottle cap lids. But listen, I read probably the most troubling fact I've ever read, and this is, if you're keeping track at home, this is fact number 1,469 Snapple fact. You ready for this?
Bring it on.
All right. Some of them, Snapple facts can be great. They can be perfect. They can have a zen-like simplicity of two words, like fish cough. That's a fact. You don't get any better than fish cough, in my opinion. Some of them are just a waste of time. But this one is, okay, here it goes. There is a species of jellyfish that is immortal. Good luck sleeping tonight, Mary. Right?
Oh.
Right? Doesn't that kind of change things?
Well, do you remember I said if I didn't think it was so cruel, I would have a huge tank of jellyfish? Because I find them so soothing.
Yeah, they're beautiful. Yeah.
And then to think, but then you would have to will them to someone.
True.
And then they would have to will them for perpetuity. Lord, that's responsibility. You can't have them.
That's right. I mean, I can't even handle a goldfish, but immortal? If your goldfish was immortal?
Well, how did the big sea turtles feel about this?
Let's not tell them.
I mean, there goes their thunder.
Yeah, they've been living large all this time. Yeah, I don't know how they would. To be honest, it's like saying that no two snowflakes are alike. How would you ever prove that?
It's a long process, long and drawn out process.
A snowflake from 2 weeks ago couldn't be identical to one from next week in Sri Lanka.
I don't have the time.
Okay.
To do the research. That's not That's not in my wheelhouse.
I call BS on that. I'm here to say yes.
But
two
how do you
snowflakes can be
how do
alike.
you know? How can you prove that either?
I don't have to prove it, do I?
Well, if you're calling BS on it, perhaps you do.
I can just say that's my opinion. First Amendment.
Whatever, little
There you
Republican.
go. There you go.
So, New York and people who are nice, what do you think about Andrew Yang
Andrew Yang.
running for mayor?
He's running for mayor, yeah. I have to say I only know him really from the presidential campaign or the primaries.
Yes, but
And-
that should give you
yeah.
some. You got to feel some way about him.
Yeah, I would say of those people, he would have been probably my third choice. I'm trying to remember now. There was
But what do you
Sanders,
think about
Warren, and then
what do you think
Yang,
about
I guess.
him as? Okay, yeah, that's done. So, what do you think about him potentially as the mayor of New York?
It's a tricky thing because mayor of New York is, I think, a real thankless job, and not that I've ever done it, but nobody's happy with it. Giuliani was the last Republican mayor for some time, and the first one in quite some time too, because New York is traditionally a pretty democratic place. So Bill de Blasio, who's from my old neighborhood, I used to see him on the street all the time. I don't know. He gets a lot of grief from the press, and I honestly don't know if it's deserved or not. I know that he and Cuomo have been battling with each other, and I think the media sort of took Cuomo's side until quite recently. So I honestly don't know. He's as good as anybody. I don't have any problem with him at this point. What about you?
I wonder if it could be refreshing. I don't know if I really have anything against de Blasio not living in the city, but Yang is very positive, and I think he could be what the city needs. He really cares about people and people doing well and equity and giving people a chance. And he's kind of that, what do we need to do to make it better for people?
Right, and he pushes the Universal Basic Income, UBI, which I don't know enough about it, but it sounds like a great idea. And what little research I've done, which is basically reading one paragraph on my phone, says that it has worked where people have done it. So I think there was some place in Canada that tried it with like $500 as an experiment, $500 a month to every citizen, and the economy just like shot up. I mean, it really is a no-brainer for anybody who knows very, very, very little about economics like I do, that you give people money and that money goes directly back into the economy. I mean, it just
It's
does.
an interesting thing, though. I don't want to give people any more money for not working if they could actually have a job. So there's that side to it. Now, I believe if you actually paid people what they were worth, there needs to be something. But I worked in a place where I saw people abusing free money. I mean, just terrible. So I think that there's got to be some way, but I don't know. I don't want to
Well, I
give
think it's
somebody, if somebody can work, I don't agree with giving them $1,000 a month just to sit on their duff and not.
Well, I think it's a philosophy. If you look at it that way, I mean, if you don't look at it that way, if you look at it as the government is giving people, through the pandemic, the government has been giving me money for unemployment. And that's not giving me money to sit on my ass. That's the government demanded that my job shut down. Therefore, they're compensating me for that.
That's a
And
very
others.
different situation.
Right.
You couldn't
what-
go
but-
to work, but if you could, if your theater was open, would you be going to work?
Oh, of course, I would be.
Okay, now you'd be going to work because your job was open. Now, what if there's somebody who had also worked in your theater, let's say ran concessions, and now all of a sudden theater's open, they could go back to work, and they say, no, you know why? Because I'm just going to sit home because I can get this amount of money and do nothing.
Mhm.
Wouldn't you be kind of wondering what the problem was with their value system?
To be 100% honest, I would not. And that is just because I try to look at the big picture of this, and the people who are stealing money from the government, in my opinion, are not the poor people. It's Jeff Bezos, it's people like that. Those people are literally stealing money. And yes, that makes me very upset. And if some poor person someplace is gaming the system and getting a couple of extra bucks, honestly, it does not bother me.
They are the ones who are making it difficult for the people who actually need it.
Go
What's
ahead.
the whole talk? Every time you hear people in the government who make the decisions as to whether anyone should receive money, they talk about the people scamming the system. They don't talk about the people who did everything they could to stretch every dollar as best they could. But if there weren't all these people scamming who were getting all the attention, then these people who really need it wouldn't have to be fighting so hard and probably wouldn't lose the benefits as often. And yes, the Bezos and all those guys, they're scamming and they're getting away with ridiculous amounts. But I don't think you look at one or the other. I think the whole system needs to be looked at.
Well, to me, when the politicians use that excuse, they're just being disingenuous. They know that corporate welfare is the problem. I mean, if you look at the numbers, there's just no question that the amount of money that, I'm not talking just Jeff Bezos, but corporations who are literally gaming the system and have been for some time. The NFL pays zero in taxes. The NFL is a multi-billion-dollar company, pays zero in taxes. If that's fixed, then maybe I'll start worrying about some mother of four who games the system a little bit so she's got an extra $200. I honestly don't care about that. I really don't.
That's not who I was talking about, and I think you know that.
Well,
I'm talking about the people who went through the line with their salon hair and their salon nails and their gold chains, buying the top steaks, and the couple is in there together. Neither of them are working. And you could tell that somebody wasn't working a night job because they were tired, and they were always, regardless of the time of day, they were coming through the store together in their nice clothes. No, buying the expensive bottled water. Those are the people I'm talking about. The obvious ones who could be doing something. And you can be underemployed, but if you can be employed, get a job. That's the way I was brought up. That's the way I was raised. That's the way my son is raised. And no. Now, the woman who has the single mother with 4 children, she should get some help. She should. So that isn't even anywhere near what I was talking about. I'm talking about the people who are literally just being lazy and scamming, getting every penny they can because they don't want to work.
In my opinion, is those people are anecdotally related by politicians. I've never met a person like that. I've never seen a person like that. If I was in a supermarket and I saw somebody in front of me loading up their cart with tomahawk steaks and whatnot, I wouldn't really care. It wouldn't be up to me to judge how that money came to be. It really is none of my business.
To me, if there's, and I'm sorry to interrupt, and I know that's incredibly rude, but if there's $10,000, we'll go for a nice round number, and it has to be split up between all of these people, X number of people, 100 people, now 10,000 people. So everybody gets $100. Now this little gal who is retired and has probably worked, is pinching pennies, buying everything on sale that she can to make it stretch. And then you've got these other people over here who could still work and get, so let's say we take those 2 people out, and now there's $200 more. And if you took everybody out who could work, now because this little lady wasn't making it. I was working in the store at the time. That was a part-time job I had. So if the people who are scamming the system get out, get jobs, if they need a little bit of help, okay, here's $200 to make up the difference. But then this little gal who was doing everything she could can get a little more money so that she can actually make it. I mean, you got to have a heart. You got to think about what it's doing to the people who deserve and have earned the help.
But isn't that looking at it like it's a zero-sum game? I mean, if somebody games the system for $200, I don't lose $200. The money, we know now that the idea of, we have to save money in the government is complete nonsense. We know that they've got trillions of dollars they can throw out whenever they want to. We know that. They proved that with the tax cut. That's been established.
Okay, but that's going to the wealthy people.
Right, but what I'm saying is the argument
is given. No, a program is given. The SNAP program is given X amount of dollars. The government isn't going to give them any more. As a matter of fact, as we talked about before, in Nebraska, they keep taking it away. So they're not going to get any more money. So get people out of there who shouldn't be in there so that the people who do deserve to be there can actually get their share to be able to get by. Get the steak buy-in, expensive water buy-in, the expensive frozen pizza buy-in, people who could get a job. I mean, trust me, these people could have had jobs. They were young and capable. I saw many people. Those weren't the only 2.
I remember years and years ago in our hometown, this would have been, I guess, in the 80s, early 80s. And there was, for some reason, an influx of, I want to say, Vietnamese refugees.
Yes.
They brought in a bunch, I don't know how many, but they brought in. Now, the racism that I heard from people, white and brown, aimed towards these, what they called Laotians, which now I realize Laos is a city, so they're not, they're Vietnamese. If one of them was driving a fancy car, oh my God, it was how dare they use wealth. And it's making these judgments that people have absolutely no business deciding. If this guy gets $500 from the government and he decides that it's more important to him to lease a fancy car so that he can get a girl or whatever, for whatever reason, and instead of buying food, that's his prerogative as far as I'm concerned. It's not up to me to say, wait, I need a receipt for all that because that's coming from my taxes. It's none of my business. People make bad decisions all the time. Poor people buy gold chains. Poor people buy bad food that's not healthy for them.
Then don't ask for any more money. If that is how you're going to spend your $500, if you're going to be that damn ass irresponsible, don't turn around and ask me for another $150 because you don't have food.
I think it's nobody's business. Well, no, I'm not saying these people don't have food.
Money. It is when they come back. If you just said to spend his $500.
Who does that?
No, I'm going off of your example. You just said if he chooses to take his $500 a month and go get a fancy car and doesn't have food, he made a poor choice, but he's the guy who's probably going to come back and say, I need more money.
In my hypothetical, he doesn't do that. He realizes, okay, I'm not going to be able to eat. I'll eat rice the whole month, but I got a nice car. That's his choice. It makes nothing to do with me.
He might have a nice car, but he doesn't have anything to take out that girl, so he's not going to get a girl.
Right, but that's not my business. This is America, land of the free. It's not my business when I'm walking down the street to make judgments on people's hairstyles or coats or whatnot.
That wasn't where I started. If that's what you took.
That's what people do. I have a friend who told me, and I know this is just a lie because it's something that people repeat. It's like, I was in the supermarket and I saw this woman buying lobster and what I'm paying with an EBT card. It's like, in the first place, you didn't, because I go to supermarkets all the time and nobody pays attention to what other people are buying. You just don't. So it's a completely manufactured story to prove a point, which is that poor people shouldn't deserve services, I guess is the point he was trying to make. Long story short is I understand there are people gaming the system. Certainly. I'm not pretending there aren't. I'm sure there are people gaming the system in a big way, but those people do not bother me. The people that really bother me are the corporations that are super gaming the system. But UBI, the government isn't saying, oh, you poor people, it's giving you a jump start. It's the economy. It isn't even about people. Like I said before, you give me $2,000, that money goes right back into the economy. It'll either go to rent or food, whatever. It won't go into my bank account and stay there. You give $2,000 or you give $2 billion to Jeff Bezos, and you'll never see it again. That money is removed from the economy. So,
I absolutely believe that they need to be taxed.
Yeah. You could give every citizen $500 a month, and that money would continue to boost the economy for the most part. There are a few people who would be able to actually save that money. So I don't see it as a problem. But anyway, Andrew Yang was your question, and I'm certainly open to him. I have no problem with him so far. Seems like a decent dude. Hope he knows what he's in for, because nobody will be happy, no matter how liberal he is or
Some people will be happy, but I get that. But I would rather focus on the positive that somebody could bring. Not everybody's going to be happy ever, but for me, I would rather focus on, okay, what can he bring to the city? What good could he bring if he is the one who is ultimately elected? Well, I'm a sunshine and you are a deluge of rain.
Me?
In a city that doesn't need any rain.
Well, the thing is that the New York press is so bad that it's like coming to play for the Yankees. You're under a microscope.
Page 6, baby, page 6.
Yeah, see, I haven't read a newspaper in more than 4 years. I actually stopped reading the newspaper, which is a daily thing in New York. I mean, people read newspapers, or used to anyway. Even when I didn't really care about the newspaper, I would do the crossword puzzle. But the day after the election, 2016, I stopped. I literally could not read anything political. So I quit reading the newspaper and haven't looked back.
I do. I read it every day. I don't read everything. I think it's unfortunate that there is always there's more crime in this area than people might think. Somebody in a knife attack, this person was assaulted. And even if these aren't the longer, but we have one writer who writes a positive story, a good human interest we need to, I get that everything, all the bad's going on, but there is good also. And I think if more of that was put out there, the attitude, people would have more hope, more faith. People's attitudes would be better. That's a known psychological fact. I can't call it a news station. They profess to be a news station, but they're not. And everything on there is complaining and talking about how awful all these people are, and they're awful, and it's bad, and it's bad, and it's bad. And I know 2 people who watch it, and they are 2 of the most negative people, and it's tough to be around them. You get them away from that station for a little while, and they're not quite as bad. But yeah, all that exposure to negativity, that affects your attitude, your way of thinking, and it's too much.
Yeah, I can't watch television news at all. I do, obviously, I read a lot of aggregated news and see a lot of aggregated news pieces through social media. But to have, whether it's CNN, Fox, MSNBC, whatever, if it's on all day and you're getting a steady stream, and it is biased no matter how one wants to look at it. They're all biased toward whatever they're biased toward. And bottom line is really it's about engagement. They don't really care. Good news doesn't pay the bills for them. Good news stories are great every now and then. They'll give you a little human interest story because it kind of lightens the mood or whatever. But they want you engaged. They want you angry and scared. Those are the best, because if you're angry and scared, you stay tuned in. So Fox obviously has its own things that they're teaching you to be scared of. Liberals, people of color, trans people, of course. But then CNN also has people. Progressives are certainly not presented as anything but loons, in my opinion. So
I watch MSNBC more than any other station,
Mhm.
and I don't feel like they tried to get me angry or scared. I think it's more than anything, they're very calming. They are more, here's what's happening. Of course you get some opinions and you get some laughter but they have people from all different walks of life, all different political perspectives. I mean, I watched Sam Nunberg, again on there last night, who had been with Trump for ages and will still back him up to a point. I mean, he's not his biggest fan anymore. And Nicole Wallace does a little thing at the end of all of her shows, Lives Well Lived, where she does a little thing about 1 or 2 people who have passed from COVID, and it has pictures and their family stories. No, they're not trying to freak me out.
I just get tired of people saying CNN is liberal because it's so not liberal. It's so not. But yeah, MSNBC could be a whole different thing.
Johnson, have you heard that little snippet from him? He wasn't afraid at all of those thousands of people marching to the Capitol, or marching on the Capitol, because he knows that they all love their country, they respect law enforcement, and they wouldn't break the law. However, had the tables been turned and had Donald Trump won the election, and now all of a sudden it's tens of thousands of Black Lives Matter or Antifa, that might have been a whole other story. So that's not a dog whistle. And so the thing is, people are saying he said it out loud, those things that a lot of them think, but now he's saying it out loud, that it wasn't racist, though. And now people are trying to make it sound like it was racist. And now the left is trying to cancel him or silence him and saying, no one's trying to silence you. And it has nothing to do with left. This is straight up racist BS. You keep showing us who you are. Wisconsin, do something. Seriously, do something about this thing, this cancer.
Have they opened any investigations yet?
Regarding
January 6th and sedition and treason?
Oh, there over 300 people have been ticketed, fined, arrested. They just arrested 2 guys in connection with the death of Officer Sicknick. Now, they haven't charged them with murder, but they have video of them together, and the one saying, "Give me the bear," and then they had to bleep it because they haven't the public still does not know the cause of his death. They haven't released that.
Mm-hmm.
So who knows?
I think I did see that. Yeah. I guess I'm more interested in, is the House going to open an investigation? It's great that all the people that we caught on video doing bad things are getting arrested, but we kind of figured they would. I'm concerned with the people who are still working in the Capitol.
yeah, I don't even want to say their names. Yes, they've been talking about having a 1/6 commission like the 9/11. I had originally thought that it had started, that it was underway the way it was sounding weeks ago. But then as of yesterday, I heard people talking that they need to start something like that, which leads us to believe it hasn't even taken off.
Yeah, I mean, it should have started day one, obviously, but the longer we go, the more distant in people's memory, and the more the fake narrative is going to take hold. I think it's already taken hold to some extent, not with you and me, obviously, but to some extent, there are people who are like, "Oh, wasn't that Antifa who did that?"
Yeah.
So, obviously, I'm not the guy in charge, but if I was Merrick Garland, I would immediately open an investigation, subpoena.
He's really pushing. He had said in his confirmation hearing that was going to be the first major thing that he does is look into this and make something happen. And they have also learned that the Army was asked to cover up that the National Guard had been requested. I'm not going to get this exactly right, because the National Guard had been requested to come in earlier than that day, I guess, saying that we've got thousands of people coming, we don't know what's going to happen, it could be bad, blah, blah, blah. And then Mike Flynn's brother, even on that day, said no to sending them, that the optics would be bad.
Right, I saw that yesterday.
Yes, and so a lot more is coming out, but because there are so many other things going on as well, and they're having to go a lot from social media posts and tips from coworkers and family members, that this is just taking longer.
I don't remember who, but someone in Congress put together a 2,000-page report that was all social media postings from Hawley and Boebert and all those people.
Oh.
And it was a timeline. It was a 2,000-page timeline. So what? It's just going to sit there? I mean,
well, who has
great work?
Who
great
has
work, but
it?
can you? Yeah, that's
But the
exactly
thing is,
right. Pass it off to somebody.
What if they have it? 2,000 pages is a lot to go through. You can't just, I read this, it's awful, look what they did. You need to take time and put a case together. If you are really trying to get it so that they are held to account for what they've done, it takes time to put a case together.
It does, but subpoenas would be a good place to start, and then we'll take our time. I think the optics of that would be just incredible. If suddenly these people were on TV describing where exactly they were that day, and then being shown, oh, actually, here's what you said that day. What did you mean when you said this? That would be amazing optics. Amazing.
I would love to have this all done. Everybody in jail suffer. But to make sure that they would pay and not get off of this, I had to come up with something else because the way that sentence was ending was just not right. If it takes 2 to 3 more weeks to get a stronger case, to ensure that they are going to lose their spot in government, hopefully go to jail for an extended period, take you 2-3 weeks. Rush it and you don't have everything you need and they get away with it? No.
It's hard to believe they don't have everything they need when basically I have everything they need right here. I mean, you can go to Reddit and you can find everything they need, open and shut case. But I understand what you're saying. I'm a little less optimistic when it comes to these things. So I am approaching this from the point of view that it probably won't happen, and I'm not happy with that. So
no.
If it happens, wonderful. That's exactly what should happen. Merrick Garland, I mean, we're forgetting that he's not exactly a liberal. I mean, the reason Obama chose him was because he was somebody the Republicans liked.
Yeah.
So
everybody liked him. But he follows the rule of law.
All right. I'm along for the ride, so I hope.
And it's that crossing over when even the issue that they had with the awful orange thing. When do you cross over from your First Amendment right into going beyond what's acceptable, what's legally reasonable and legally allowed? That's if it's all things that they wrote, things that they've said, you got to get that figured out. You can't let them off and just to say, look what you said, look what you wrote. That was bad. Okay. How do these bad things implicate them as being part of the people, the cause for what happened on the 6th?
They've got a timeline of tweets and calls, everything, every call, every whatever was recorded in that time period. So they know who said what and who said what when. So you've got Lauren Boebert, who was literally saying Nancy Pelosi has gone, she took a left or whatever. Now, normally, if you take that out of context, it means nothing, but you put it in context, it means everything. They know that.
Yes, that's exercising her First Amendment right to say that.
It isn't.
You have to take, and what they keep saying is, when did it cross the line? Can you say that? How can you prove that what she said and what she wrote, that there was a causal relationship between her words and what happened on the 6th? Mm-hmm. If you can't prove that causal relationship, then they just go away.
That would be for a grand jury to decide, wouldn't it?
But you have to have the information put together. You can't just send 2,000 pages of tweets.
No, but the timeline, if you look at the timeline, that is the evidence. If it says at 2:43 this happened, at 2:44 this happened, and then you see it, then you don't have a First Amendment question. You've got a narrative that unfolded. And
but can you prove that
was part of it? Yeah,
can you
I would
prove
think
that
so.
that's causal?
Any lawyer should be able to prove that. Just from what I've read, and I would imagine they've got access to more information than I have. So yeah, I would say it baffles me, honestly, why these people are allowed to be. If I was working alongside these people, especially the ones with guns who refuse to check their guns at the door, can you imagine working with these people?
No.
Day in and day out. If you know that they want you dead, literally want you dead, and have worked with and will work with others to make sure that you die.
No.
I mean,
well, and guns are not supposed to be allowed on the floor.
If somebody tries to kiss you at work, HR will get rid of them.
Yeah.
It's that. You get what is going on. Why?
But carry a gun. No, I don't think they should be allowed, period.
They're not, right? I mean, they're allowed.
I don't think those people, you can bring them into the building, but you can't bring them onto the floor.
Well, what is the procedure for removing somebody temporarily for an investigation? Let's say that Marjorie Taylor Greene shoots somebody.
I don't know.
What would the process be? They would remove her from her post, would they not? And while they're doing an investigation?
One would think that they would.
Yeah.
But I really don't know.
Yeah.
And it would almost seem to me that the threats that she has made and the threats that Boebert has made would be enough at that point, even if you're not going to remove them from their seat until the investigation is done. Explain that they can work via Zoom from their home. They shouldn't even be allowed in the building because they are endangering everyone.
I don't know any more than any other idiot knows about that, but it sounds like that's a course that Nancy Pelosi, the speaker, would be able to remove people based on that.
We should have to review. Let's both research it. We'll come back with what we have figured out.
Yeah.
Maybe a New York representative would talk to you a little bit, give you some answers. Nobody from this state would. I mean, we all know that.
Well, except for Ernie Chambers.
He retired. He had to.
Oh, he did? Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, they put the term limits in because of him. And then he sat out the requisite number of years.
Okay.
And then went back in for 2 more terms. And he's in his 80s now. I went the day of his last day. There was a surprise celebration. His daughter, and I can't think, one of the other senators was aware, and she's good. She's a really, really good one. I'll keep names out. Had kind of set this up. But then it was an incredibly hot day. They gave us all signs that on one side, I kept mine for the longest time, had one thing, and then you flip them over and it said, "Thank you, Charlie." And he didn't know any of that. He just thought, at the end, it was still going and going, and we'd all gone inside for a little while. And that's when the woman who had a little sign for him, there was on a little yard spike.
Okay.
The police officer, security for the Capitol, came and she had to take it off the spike. That was when I had discussed that a few weeks ago. But that was the experience when I said I saw it happen. And she was just like, oh, okay. Took it off. The guy took the spike and away they went. She kept her little sign. But they interrupted it for a little while and he came out and was quite touched. And so he was talking. And then somebody behind him, I think it was a dad, kind of was giving this sort of flip your sign signal. And so we all flipped them, and he thought that was pretty fun. Now, I thought it was silly one time when he sued God.
I was just going to bring that up because I think that was hilarious on one hand, and also it's easy to say, okay, he was just being a jerk and creating an unnecessary lawsuit. But there was a point to it.
Oh, he
'Cause-
didn't do things for the sake of being silly or
Yeah,
frivolity.
he was protesting someone using an act of God as a legal precedent. I think is
It
what he was
was-
doing. So yeah,
With the limited funds that the state had, that is the only my aspect. It was like, really? Sessions are so short, and there's a lot to him that people didn't know about, and I still don't know everything, but he would call that book the Bible,
huh.
and he explained why, and things are biblical and all these other things. That I think he had a little bit of fun with, because it just drove one of the other senators bonkers. He used to teach Bible school, Bible study. My goodness, incredibly intelligent. Incredibly intelligent.
I didn't know that he retired. I guess nothing lasts forever.
And it's funny, a lot of people are like, one more time, come on, one more time. He's like, yeah, I'm done. He would have had to have waited 6 more years.
Oh, okay.
To run again 4 or 6 more years. And he's like, nah, it's time for me just to go back to my neighborhood and just do something else. So he was one of those people that you didn't have to agree with him all the time, but I don't think you agree with any politician.
You shouldn't.
But you knew whatever he was doing, he firmly believed in it. He believed in it, and he believed that it was better for the people. He never did anything for his own glory or for his own promotion. He was the legitimate thing. Yes.
Yes. Did you see South Park this week?
I honestly haven't watched South Park in years.
Yeah, they've been doing kind of sporadic. Well, they've only done 2 shows since the pandemic started, in lieu of a regular season. But there were 2 hour-long shows. And the first one was the pandemic special. This one just came out last week.
89 bitches.
That's right.
89.
The vaccination special, and it is so good. I mean, I forget sometimes how great South Park is.
Yeah.
I've gone like an entire season forgetting about it, and then I'm like, oh wait, South Park's on. Cool. Then I can binge an entire season. They're just so spot on. This one's all about Q and vaccinations, and I don't know do you remember the Scientology episode? Pretty famous episode that they did. It was called Trapped in the Closet.
Isn't that the one when Isaac Hayes all of a sudden said no more?
Yes, he did. Although apparently his son claims that, and I tend to believe this, that it was really the church that did it. His dad was fairly incapacitated at that time, and the church really ran his business, which they like to do. So they were the ones who made the decision that he had to leave the show. In the Scientology show, they not only do they ridicule it, but they actually show you like a rundown of the tenets of Scientology, which were completely hidden from us until then. For the most part, Scientology really kept that stuff away from us because you're not supposed to know, because it's really, really crazy.
The Leah Remini show, if you haven't.
This was even a few years before that. So when they showed Xenu and the Thetans and all this nonsense, and there would be a running ticker across the bottom of the screen saying, this is what Scientologists actually believe. They sort of did the same thing with Q in this one. So they give you a nice rundown of what Q, and it's, of course, you and I know this, but it's every bit as ridiculous as Scientology or anything else. But the best part of it is,
without the nice buildings.
Without the nice building, yeah, they don't have the corporate infrastructure yet. But the best thing about it is Mr. Garrison had been Donald Trump. I don't know if you remember that whole thing, that whole scenario, but he turned into Donald Trump. Now he's back for 4 years. Long story. Now he's back, and he wants to get back into teaching and everything, and just return things to normal. And some Q people recognize him, and they go up to him and they want to know about the plan or the storm or whatever, and he just says something rude to get them to leave, and they take that as a meaning, as a hidden meaning, so that becomes part of so the whole program is basically about them misinterpreting and finding hidden meanings where there aren't hidden meanings. Now get this. Yes, you guessed it. You guessed it. The QAnons are actually finding hidden meanings in that show now. They're saying, oh, Trey and Matt, they're Q.
Oh, no.
Yeah, they've hidden. Yeah, so if you go into Parler or any of your favorite neo-Nazi hanging spot, no pun intended, you will find discussions of the hidden meanings that were in the episode of South Park, which is just as meta could possibly get.
Oh, my word. How far beyond ridiculous do you have to go? And at some point, does somebody just kind of bee slap you right upside the face and point out to you how far off the spectrum you've gone.
You know, I'm starting to think that
They
pretty
have to
smart,
say
actually.
we're moving our headquarters to Guyana. Get your ticket, get baby, let's go. Is that when somebody goes, maybe this isn't right?
Here's how I think it works. If you make the story so unbelievable, it's kind of like the Nigerian emails that people receive claiming to be a Nigerian prince and please deposit 30,000, and they're riddled
Yeah.
with
He's
errors.
supposed to be.
and
He's
that's to
arriving
keep
next
people-
week.
Right.
I've helped
They-
him out.
they- They're always full of errors and such obvious mistakes that people say, well, who could fall for this? Who would fall for this? And that's the point. They want the people who would fall for that, people who wouldn't notice spelling or grammatical errors, because
Yes.
those people are more likely to really be reeled in. So with Q, if you establish from the beginning just the most ludicrous democratic cabal of baby-eating cannibals, then you've already eliminated anybody who's going to do any sort of critical thinking from the
True.
outset. You've got just that primer coat of complete idiots, and then you build from that. So those people are never going away because you couldn't come up with a story that's too ludicrous for these people. They'll believe anything. So you got them locked in. And then it attracts people from other, because it's like I said before, a big tent, it attracts people who are flat earth people. It attracts people who are racist. Whatever weird world view you have will fit into that because it's just open. So that's my opinion. I think it works to their benefit to have it so unbelievable because you and I, we're never going to be Q people anyway. So it gets us out of the way in the first place. Now we know who we're dealing with. I don't want to say it's a brilliant strategy, but it's a strategy that works. Worked for Scientology. Now all they got to do is get that tax exempt status,
Yeah.
and they're home free. That's
And if they don't, it's the liberals going against the conservatives. They don't want anything. It's like maybe the fact that it doesn't qualify could be an issue.
yeah, and it's brilliant too because their enemies are everyone. They've created anyone but them could be their enemy.
Yes.
So you're not limited to just hating Jews or hating one thing. Anybody's a quote unquote liberal. My new favorite thing, it's as fun as watching Nazis get punched online, is watching anti-maskers being thrown out of stores. That's my new favorite thing.
Yes.
It's so fun. As long as I know going into it that that's how it's going to be resolved. Otherwise, it creates anxiety.
But Mary tries to speak take two. And I've said it before.
I have a new ringtone.
Did they? Oh, I don't think so. The fact that there are basically no cases of the flu this year, and some people will say it's because we're not going out as much. Well, still going to the store. People are going to some sporting events in limited numbers, but the sporting events are taking place. People are out. Bars are open to limited capacity. So people have been going out. Masks work, people.
They do.
Yes.
Ask any doctor.
Really? Oh, you don't think they work? Okay. When the doctor with a cold shows up in your surgery, you just go to sleep. You go sleepy. Everything will be just fine.
Don't you worry about it. We got it, Karen. Oscar nominations came out yesterday.
Oh, darn it. Didn't see those.
Pretty predictable, frankly.
Nomad. Oh, part of Nomadland was filmed out in Scottsbluff.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, I wonder if it was part that I fell asleep during.
Well, apparently the Coen brothers had filmed another movie. Something that has Buster in the name.
Oh, that's The Legend of Buster Scruggs, I think it's.
Yes.
Yeah, that's great. Great.
Had filmed quite a bit of it out in that area. And it's the part where they showed her in the sugar beet factory.
Mm-hmm.
And the sugar beet factory was actually, now I can't think of it, Scottsbluff, and then there's a little bridge, and what's it called? The bridge was by the Y. It was a long time ago when we resided in Scottsbluff.
Oh, I didn't know that you did.
4 years.
Oh, okay. After high school?
No,
college?
4 through 7.
Oh, really? Okay.
4th, and then kindergarten, 1st, and 2nd grade.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing, I think you and I met in 8th grade. Would that be right? Or did we meet in 7th grade, maybe? Did you attend the same school as I did in 7th grade?
I don't know.
Walnut Junior High School?
Dear
the Wildcat.
Dear old walnut, school life, love
Na,
the
na,
best. With your colors flying high. You want to know how sad things in life, how you remember certain things,
Yeah.
and then other things, and some of them may be the big things, and then all of a sudden there's the, why do I remember this? I pretty much remember the cheer that I made up to try out for cheerleader at Walnut.
Wow. Can we hear a little bit of that right now?
Well, the wording, it's the actions, they're the thing. The
Okay.
SUCCESS, that's the way we spell success. Go Wildcats. Go Walnut or something. Everybody, back in that day, everybody ended their cheer in the splits. It was just kind of like, yeah, see, I can do them.
And did that land you a spot on the squad?
Heck to the yeah!
Nice.
I was a cheerleader every year.
Nice. Yeah, you know.
Well, I was working out with the gymnastics team for a little while, but I had a job and I needed to keep the job. Now, I wasn't competing that year. I was actually going to the next year. But I would have to leave practice early one day so that I could go to my job, and then was kind of told I needed to choose because it wasn't fair. Then I chose my job.
And you haven't looked back.
No, I wouldn't have been that great. I would have been on the balance beam and maybe vault. Now I could choreograph. I was doing some of the choreography or for their flow routines. That was fun. And then I was actually practicing with the diving team, but you couldn't be in any sports and be a cheerleader. And with the position that my father had, it was more important to me to be at his games than it was for me to do something else.
He was the head football coach.
Yes.
for people
Then
who-
that was, I guess, before my sophomore year. And then the one thing that I did, I always pointed my toes. My feet were always together and my toes were always pointed from having been in gymnastics, which apparently is the toughest thing that they have with divers to get them, to train them to do that. And I was fourth on the squad, and that was just with a few weeks. So, I mean, I would have had, and the diving coach never spoke to me again.
Oh.
I made my way through it. That was fun. That I miss. That I would have missed.
So you did swimming,
No.
cheerleading, and gymnastics. You were like your
Diving.
very own Battle of the Network stars.
Right.
right?
Not swimming.
Not swimming.
No,
Diving. Isn't diving diving isn't the same as swimming? What do you do after you dive?
swim your way to the pool. To the
Okay.
left.
All right.
No, I could have.
I guess that's why I associate the two.
breaststroke I could do because I could never do freestyle.
Mhm.
My sister and Mom put us in swimming lessons when we were very young, but hyper claustrophobic. And I couldn't have my face, and you know how you're supposed to breathe under your arm, but
Okay.
water still drips in your face? Freaked me out. Couldn't do it. No, because that one, your belly up and your face is out of the water. Frog kicks, that I could do. Well, and my college roommate, a friend from home, went to state. She was a very good swimmer. And there was a pool in between the two dorms that were connected where we were at college. And she tried to teach me. By then my hair was really long and it just got in my face. God bless her, she tried. Couldn't kick right. I couldn't do any of it. It was just like, hang up the swimsuit. Let's find a beach.
I don't swim at all. I never learned to swim. I'm a freak. I'm a freak of nature.
How did you go to the pools and the lakes? And didn't you have to get in?
No, I don't think so. I go to the beach. I love going to Coney Island in all its disgusting splendor, but I don't go in the water. I mean, I dip my feet in the water, but that'd be crazy. My kids swim. My kids they took swimming lessons and everything, and they're quite good swimmers, and they always say, Dad, we'll teach you how to swim. And I'm like, I think I've made peace with it. I sort of figure at this point, I'm probably not going to be in a situation where I would need to swim.
But it just feels so good to be in water.
Sure. No, I
You just
understand.
float. I think you should let them try. I think you should do it.
Yeah.
Do it. Do
But
it.
then when I feel like really regretful for not swimming, I don't know that I have a year.
You'll be happy that you finally did.
Mm.
Don't look to the negative. Be like,
I don't-
I could have gone through my life with that. This is fantastic. Look at me go now.
I think I have a phobia though, because if I'm submerged in water, if it gets to my chest, I start feeling really, really anxious.
That's because you don't know how to swim.
Thank you. So
But if you
it
knew
makes
how to
sense.
swim,
Yeah.
if you knew how to swim, you'd be like, rock on, I got this. This ain't nothing but a thing.
But you know what? Also, I can't pilot a helicopter. So I kind of feel like if I put myself in a situation where I'm one person removed from needing to fly that helicopter, I accept that that's where I'm going to die.
Kind of.
I don't need to
different
live.
Situations.
You think?
Yeah.
I stay on the land mostly, you know. If I'm in a plane and the plane goes down over the water, I'm going to say I did pretty much everything I could at that
Do you
point.
go boating?
No.
Okay.
I'm not against boating necessarily, but I don't think it's an activity that I would seek out.
Huh.
I love the beach. I love the ocean. I love the water. I love all God's creatures swimming in. But you know, I lay on the beach and I get sunburned. That's all. Get a nice burn. Yeah, work on my burn.
I don't know.
But Nomadland. Did you see it yet, or are you
No.
interested in seeing it? It's going to win Best Picture. I
You did
really
not
believe it.
You did not enjoy it,
I didn't.
but obviously others are enjoying the movie.
It baffles me. I think it's probably. I'm going to go on record now and say it's probably going to win Best Picture, the Oscar. Oh, I also watched Sound of Metal. That is also nominated for Best Picture, which was a little bit of a surprise. The actor was getting a lot of
A lot of press, a lot of
lot of
attention.
press, yeah. But it also got picture and I think director, and it's about a guy. It's the first, if you're keeping track of these things, it's the first Muslim actor to get a nomination.
Okay.
For whatever that's worth. But it's about a guy who's in his 30s and he's a heavy metal drummer with his girlfriend, and then he starts losing his hearing really quickly. He just loses his hearing. So it's him dealing with that. It's really, in my opinion, heavy-handed and also very Nomadland-like in its, okay, nothing's going to happen in this scene. It wasn't bad. It's just I was expecting, I think, a little bit more than that. So I'm looking at
What were you expecting? What were you hoping that you don't think you got from the movie? What is that thing that was missing for you?
Yeah, I guess it was an edge. One thing I don't really ever connect with the character, and I don't know if it's his fault or if it's the way it's shot, but he never makes, not that you should look at the camera, but there wasn't a connection. I never connected with that character. Just okay, I'm along for his ride here. But because then he's learning to deal with the deafness, and is it more important to get his hearing back, or is it? So you can kind of see where it's going.
So I think that would be very interesting.
Yeah,
It's
me.
very much a human interest.
You might love it. I'm not saying I hated it. It wasn't exactly what I expected it to be. So, well, you know.
Did you ever
but
see Ad Astra?
I did not. That's the Brad Pitt
Yes.
sci-fi space thing.
Yes. And that got a whole lot of acclaim. And a friend of mine and I, another mom and I would go. We would sneak out to Tuesday afternoon movies sometimes because it's $5 Tuesday. And that movie just never, either one of us, never drew us in. And a lot of other people loved it.
Yeah. This year's crop, I don't know.
What else is out there?
Okay, I've only seen, of the 8 Best Picture nominees, I've only seen 5. You've got The Father, which is Anthony Hopkins with Alzheimer's. You got Judas and the Black Messiah, which I saw, which was excellent. You got Mank, which was, if the Oscars were like they used to be, that would be hands down the winner because it's about Hollywood. It's so like movie, and it's quite good too. But I think now it's just too white because of this whole diversity thing. Then you got Minari, which is Stephen Ewan from Glenn from Walking Dead.
Okay.
That's his, and he's also nominated for Best Actor, first Asian American ever to be nominated for Best Actor. Excuse me. Then you got Nomadland. Then you got Promising Young Woman. Haven't seen that yet. I'm going to. And you got Sound of Metal and The Trial of the Chicago 7. Oh, one good thing is Maria Bakalova from Borat 2 got her nomination for Supporting Actress. So, yeah, so that's a good thing.
Ha! Take that, Rudy.
Exactly. But I was disappointed that Frank Langella didn't get a nomination. He plays the crazy judge in Trial of the Chicago 7.
Oh.
And I hate to say this, I really do, because I love Sacha Baron Cohen. I think he's probably one of the greatest comic minds of our time. But I did not like him in Trial of the Chicago 7 as Abbie Hoffman. And he got a nomination. He's nominated for an Oscar for it. Probably will win, but I did not see him as Abbie. He looks like him physically with the afro, and that's about it. It pains me to say that because I really, really love him. But he didn't have the accent right. I know he has no control over his height, but he's way taller than the guy that got to play Jerry Rubin. And in real life, they're the same size. So you're looking at him, and there's like a foot difference. so they look kind of comical. They're like a comedy team when you see them together.
So you couldn't go with suspended disbelief for a little while and just say, all right, maybe everybody had it wrong in the beginning and this is what they really were. If you couldn't buy into them, you just can't.
When I first saw the difference in height, I thought, wow, I don't remember it. Were there really, so I just went to Google and Googled a photograph of the two of them together. And in 5 seconds, I was like, oh, well, now I'm going to be distracted. It wasn't incidental. They make a point of it, of him being like taller. And that kind of thing distracts me because if you're making a movie that is historically set and we have visual records of what these people look like, then make them look like that. There's no reason not to.